But all eyes this evening are on the 7th meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Barack Obama that has begun a short while ago in Washington, D.C. The personal bond of friendship between the two leaders is seen to have shaped the strategically crucial Indo US ties. The meeting in the last months of the Obama presidency showcases just how far bilateral ties have come. Remember, this is the fourth direct bilateral meeting between the two leaders since October of 2014. They've held 3 subsequent meetings also on the sidelines of various summits. The meeting is seen to be crucial because it will address various issues, including India pushing for a place on the nuclear high table. Those are the images that are coming in from Washington a short while ago as the Prime Minister reached the White House. With me in the studio is the editor of India Today, Raj Chengappa, who's been tracking the nuclear issue for years, long before Narendra Modi became Prime Minister, I can tell you. Rakesh Sood, someone who's also been intimately involved, former ambassador, with the entire issue of the nuclear relations between the countries. And also, we're going straight live to Washington first, where Gaurav Sawant, our correspondent, is just outside the White House. Gaurav, let's first go cut the chase, as the Americans would say, and tell me what is on the menu today between the two leaders. I'm told they're having dinner later this evening, but what's on the menu this morning in Washington?
Rajdeep, they're having their one-on-one, then there is a working lunch that the two have together, and in this, during the delegation level talks, there is lots on the table, from terrorism to nuclear energy. Everything is on as the two heads of government and state meet. Their last, as Barack Obama, this is his last as President of the United States of America. What's extremely crucial is the talk of Barack Obama's legacy. What does he want to leave, the White House with when it comes to India-US relations? Where does the Indo-US nuclear ties, where do they stand? Will we get onto the missile technology control regime? Sources say that's an enabler that's likely to happen. We are moving forward on that. NSG, perhaps not immediately, but sources say that John Kerry is in China. He's been working the phone lines. He's been speaking to the Chinese leadership. So perhaps will China be the only country to oppose it, with Switzerland's coming on board, with the Mexico Prime Minister's next destination? Rajdeep, I have with me here Sarah Watson, who's a research fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. And Sarah, you've been looking at Prime Minister Modi and the US President's meet. What's the big takeaway likely to be?
I think what's really interesting is the amount of issues that could be on the table. That really shows the breadth and scope of the US-India relationship right now. They could be talking about nuclear issues, they could be talking about trade, they could be talking about intelligence sharing. I'm not sure that all of those will see progress today, but it just shows how far things have come in the past 10 years.
Rajdeep, this relationship, as Government of India sources have been telling us, is more than just give and take at this stage. It is more about consolidation of India-US relations. As there's a transition from one administration to the other, India doesn't want to be off the map.
I'm coming back to you, Gaurav, in a moment, because I want to ask you, Raj, let's look at the menu. As it was suggested by Sarah, the breadth of the relationship, and I want you to tell me what you believe, if you were Narendra Modi, you'd put at the top. India's NSG membership, clean energy, technology transfer in the defense sector, push for civil nuclear energy cooperation to actually see that the landmark civil nuclear deal reaches fruition in terms of results on the ground, and countering terror and business relationships. If I were to ask you, if this was on the menu, what do you believe is top of the mind for you?
Well, certainly plenty of them. Why would you go with a single agenda to President Obama?
You wouldn't go with a single agenda.
Certainly
even
not.
Though the nuclear supply, the being on the nuclear high table has been considered as critical to overcome Chinese opposition to India being part of the nuclear suppliers group.
Well, in some senses, there's a culmination happening. What President Bush started with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, I think President Obama has this opportunity to finish what had been started. But if you look, there are other issues that are critical as well. Defense, for instance. We have been engaging each other. And we have, certainly if we get into the make improvements in the defense trade and technology initiative that is there, that's a significant movement forward if we can work towards it. Counter-terrorism, which is a major concern of ours. That's the other thing on the table where we're discussing how we can exchange information better, maybe better technology in terms of cyber terror. This is another thing. And if you look at it overall, we are engaging on environment, for instance, clean technology, which is very, very important. We have this massive solar expansion that we're trying to do, solar energy, and America has the technology. And I think these are some of the critical areas that I think Prime Minister Modi will focus on.
You're saying the breadth of the relationship needs to be discovered. Gaurav, let me come back to you for a moment on that. You know, what are you gathering on the ground? What is top of the mind for Prime Minister Modi? What is he hoping to get from this relationship? As you said, this is the last possible bilateral meeting between the two leaders. Given the fact that President Obama bows out in November, what is top of the mind for the Indian Prime Minister today?
From what sources in the government tell us, nuclear energy is big on the Prime Minister's mind. Clean energy is big on the Prime Minister's mind. As Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar was saying, 40% of India's energy needs by 2030 would be non-fossil fuel. And for that, India needs good technology. So do we see forward movement on Westinghouse setting up 6 nuclear reactors in India? That would be extremely interesting to see. As far as more than just Barack Obama visit, the US-India Business Council, Rajdeep, American investments in India, that's big. Make in India when it comes to America, not just investing in India, but also setting up projects for infrastructure development. Now that's big. That is where America needs a lot more confidence in India in terms of more transparency, in terms of quicker laws and quicker decision making. And also America doesn't want to get trapped in litigation here. So when I was speaking to the USIBC, they said we would love to invest in India. We need more enablers. But what's top of India's agenda? Let me also once again, Rajdeep, get in Sarah Watson for more on this. What is it that India would want to take away from the US in terms of these talks?
I think a Westinghouse deal absolutely would be at the top of the list. It would be a huge vote of confidence, not only in the insurance pool that India has created to calm U.S. nuclear companies' fears about doing business, but it's a sign that American companies are willing to make huge investments in India, which is, I think, would be a vote of faith in Modi's attempt to improve the ease of doing business.
So investment and energy, that perhaps would top the agenda. Terrorism is at an all-time high. Terrorism cooperation is at an all-time high between India and the United States, and that will be taken to a different level, Rajdeep.
Gaurav, we'll come back to you as we expect a joint statement from the two leaders in about an hour. But Rakesh Sood, your sense, top of the agenda, what do you believe is the main thing that Prime Minister Modi would like to take away from this meeting?
There are going to be more than one. First of all is the issue relating to the export control regimes. Because let's not forget that President Obama, when he came 6 years ago in 2010, the joint statement at that time said that the US is committed to ensuring India's entry into the 4 export control regimes. So this is part of that unfinished promise, as it were. And I think both Prime Minister Modi and President Obama have invested a lot in this relationship. And to that extent, I think we will see forward movement on it. Certainly on MTCR, very likely on NSG as well. And also, I think down the line on Wassenaar arrangement and the Australia group. Second, I think on the energy, we will see forward movement because in 2015, when President Obama was the chief guest at the Republic Day, that was the time when the two leaders announced that there was some kind of forward movement on the liability issue, which had created problems for Westinghouse.
Right.
And both leaders announced that that had been resolved. Now, since then, India has set up the insurance pool. So we'll see forward movement on that. The third issue will be defense. We probably will see forward movement on the LEMOA agreement, the signing of it, other agreements in the defense field, and fourth, we will see agreements in the area of economics on APEC and forward movement perhaps on the bilateral investment treaty.
So again, it's the entire basket of issues. I just want to get one final word from you, Raj, before we leave you. This is the 7th meeting between the two leaders. If you count their meeting on the sidelines at various multilateral summits as well, 4 bilateral meetings that they've had. And this is under 2 years. How important is the talk of this personal chemistry between Barack, my friend, as Mr. Modi likes to call him, and Prime Minister Modi?
Very important. I think if you looked at the way President Bush and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, again, a study in contrast, got along, and the trust they placed in each other pushed the relationship to a new height. I think what's happened in the last 2 years is the surprise, is that he's really turned around. He's brought the mojo back into the relationship. It was flagging. You know, there was a sense of a drift. But I think President Obama and Prime Minister Modi, by engaging with each other with this intensity, has put it right back on top.
Okay. That's a good point on which to leave you. We'll, of course, have plenty more from Raj, Rakesh, as well as from Gaurav Sawant. Remember, 9:40 p.m. live from Washington, D.C. is the Narendra Modi, Barack Obama joint press briefing. But I just want to look at this relationship over the years. Think about it. Narendra Modi for years was denied entry into the United States after the 2002 Gujarat riots. Today, he is a prize guest of Barack Obama at the White House. The 7th meeting in just 2 years. Let's take a look back at the Modi-Obama chemistry, as they're calling it.
On September 28, 2 years ago, Modi and Obama met for the first time at the White House. The meeting proved to be the first among many. Cementing a tie that went beyond diplomatic protocol and bilateral ties, both heads of state went out of the way for the other. A famous friendship that broke the conventions of statecraft. Shortly after Modi took over, the bonhomie with the United States President resulted in an invite to the Republic Day parade. Obama's 3-day visit to India was rife with photo opportunities, and the friendship with Modi blossomed. But their friendship didn't stop Obama from speaking out on the climate of intolerance in India.
A place where in past years religious faiths of all types have, on occasion, been targeted by other peoples of faith simply due to their heritage and their beliefs. Acts of intolerance that would have shocked Gandhiji, the person who helped to liberate that nation.
Over the next year, the two met in a whirlwind of locations, from Turkey to Paris. And New Delhi's bond with Washington had never been stronger. And today, Modi arrived in Washington for a record 7th meet with the US President. As Obama prepares to check out of the White House, the challenges for New Delhi will mount. Can Modi ensure in this visit that his equation with Obama will bring India to the diplomatic high table? Bureau Report, India Today.